Hey, what's up guys? It's Joel from Easy Engineering and welcome back to another video. So today we're diving right into a compression series video and we're going to be talking about multiband compression. I've got a few examples loaded up here, but I'm going to go through the process of multiband compression as we go along. So this video might be going to try and make sure that it's not too long a video. But anyway, I feel like multiband compression can be misinterpreted, I guess, and approached in the wrong way. I mean, I certainly approached it in the wrong way. What was this, like 2-3 years ago now? And I thought, oh, I need to put it on all my leads because they're all fighting for the same space and everything. And then I just ended up changing the sound of all my leads and making them actually sound horrible. So multiband compression, I've spoken about it very briefly in my kick and bass tutorial for Cytrons, my Cytrons kick and bass tutorial. If you want to go and check it out, I'll provide a link in the description down below. But it's best used in a clinical sense. You don't want to change the tonality of the sound too much with a multiband compressor because it's not an EQ, and it is used to control the dynamics of a certain frequency range within a sound. So I've got a good example over here where you'd want to be using it on your drum mix, because as you can hear, that snare is hitting way too hard. So what you're going to want to do is load up your multiband compressor. I like to use C6. Bear in mind that C6 adds quite a lot of harmonics into your mix, into your sound, so you got to be wary of that. You can use a linear phase multiband compressor, but even the Waves linear phase multiband, it still adds quite a bit of harmonics, but not nearly as much as this. I'm actually going to do a video talking about signal flow. Definitely go check it out. Anyway, what you want to go in and do is load up your multiband compressor and then try and find where that snare is hitting. So what part of the frequency spectrum is that snare most prominent? So I would say somewhere around here. Now bear in mind that when you are multiband compressing on a mix bus or a channel that's a stem, basically, you got to keep in mind that you will be affecting all the other sounds within the mix, within that channel at that frequency range. This is something that a lot of mastering engineers keep in mind when they do use multiband compression. They very rarely use it. I wouldn't say it's a great thing to go for. Basically, what a mastering engineer will use multiband compression for is to kind of get a balance of the entire tonal frequencies. So in the master, you got your lows, your mids, your highs, and you want to try and get them sitting quite comfortably with each other. And that's what a mastering engineer will use a multiband compressor for. But in the case of this, it can be used for mixing, and you want to kind of go in and be quite clinical about it, so don't go too crazy. Remember that snare is hitting quite late in the loop, so you want long attack because you don't want it to be affecting that kick or the hi-hats too much, so you kind of want to wait. So we'll do that, and we'll give it a short release because it's quite a snappy sound. So let's try that out right now. So as you can see, when the snare hits, the compressor gets activated. This is with it on, with it off. Now in context of the whole mix, it's definitely brought the snare down a noticeable amount. So yeah, that's essentially one example. Another example is when two instruments are sharing the same space and you kind of want to get a little bit more of a balance between the two. Obviously, this is quite rough because, you'd need to do a little bit of EQing and everything, but since this is just on multiband compression, we'll just keep it at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually multiband compress the trumpet because it's quite a consistent sound, whereas the guitar is quite varied. It's got a nice dynamic range to it too. and it just to me it seems like the trumpet is kind of fighting the guitar for the space rather than the other way around. Also, the guitar, that's quite a lead sound, and you want the trumpet to kind of be in the background, just supporting the guitar. So again, you want to try and find that frequency range that kind of shares the space with the guitar. I would say it's actually quite, maybe around between 600 and maybe 2.5. It's fine. Now I've given it a short attack because I want the compressor to act fast when the sound actually hits, and I've given it a long release because it's quite a long, drawn out sound, and I want it to be quite consistent. I want it to be a quite consistent compression. You know, just so you don't get any random spikes in any dynamics, and yeah, I just want it to kind of sit in the back. So this frequency, they're not fighting with each other anymore. It's quite, I've pushed the trumpet back, and it just seems to blend a bit more. It shares the space more evenly now. Very nice, very nice. Now again, we're going to go back, and this is now the standard kick and bass that I use a lot. This is kind of the main area that I will use multiband compression. It will be on my kick and bass. Now we're using the same drum beat, so that's why I've kept it up there, because we don't want that snare to be very, you know, in your face. Personally, what I would do as a mix or mastering engineer is contact the client and tell them to fix the level of that snare within their mix before sending it back to us to get mixed, because you want consistency throughout the chain rather than trying to have to deal with it. You know, you can do it, but it's a good idea to get it sorted from the start rather than try and fix it during the mixing stage. Anyway, so what you would use your multiband compressor with your bass and your kick is obviously for them to kind of not fight over the low frequency space. I will try and actually, because obviously I won't be using a multiband compressor on its own, I'll have EQ, you know, I might do some sidechain compression too. So it's just a little added step just to kind of get that particular frequency range to be more consistent and not so dynamic. So you can go in and just dial it in like that, and see already when the kick hits, I can hear that as the kick hits, because of the multiband compressor, they are not clashing anymore. They're kind of, you're freeing up some space, you're cleaning up the space around it, and it's just gelling better between the two. So on to the next and final example is with vocals, and I'll be using the multiband compressor on the vocals. And this is just to kind of get it to, again, sit more comfortably within the mix and gel together, because I've noticed a lot with vocals is you can get the mix sounding very nice, but then the vocals kind of just sit on top, and they just sound disjointed. What you trying to say? Oh, what you trying to say? I'm getting off my face, yeah. Like they just sound separate from one another, and I'll actually be compressing where these two hit, just so they're not clashing with one another. But also remember, I'm not using the multiband compressor on its own. I will use it in conjunction with an EQ, maybe some compression, because at the end of the day, a song with vocals, the vocals should be the most focused element within the mix. So you don't want to be hiding the vocals behind anything, but you want everything to be sharing the same space in a kind of harmonious way. And this is why we do these kind of processes. My face, yeah, I'm getting off my face. I don't want to break over, get on my way. Touch my back, boy. This area is kind of where I'm going to be dipping it out, because it's just, you can hear it clashing with these two elements and not working together. So I'll bring it down like that. Maybe just reduce it a little bit, not too crazy, not too much, and just like that. So you can hear there already that it's dipping in and out, and it's allowing these instruments to breathe, and they're not clashing, but you can still get that low end of the vocals. And obviously without that band soloed. What you trying to say? Oh, what you trying to say? I'm getting off my face, yeah, I'm getting off my face. I don't want to go sober, get it out my way. Crush my dad's rover, speeding through the lanes. Now, that sounds a lot better. It sounds like they're working together rather than fighting each other. I'm not too sure if this is the right part in the song, actually, but you get my point. You kind of want all the elements to be sitting and working together rather than fighting one another. And again, you don't want to be using just a multiband on its own. The thing about mixing and mastering is that it's these little bits added together help make the overall sound a lot better, rather than just whacking a massive compressor on and hoping for the best. It's small light compression with some light EQ, some more light compression, maybe some more light, saturation, whatever. And all of these steps add up. So keep an eye out for the signal flow video that I'm going to be doing, because I have done a signal flow video already. And there should be a link in the description down below for that one too. But I will be doing a slightly varied video on the signal flow of certain plugins, so keep an eye out for that. Anyway, I hope this video helped. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, remember that you don't want to be using it just on its own. And good luck, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and comment down below. If you want to see more of my videos, please subscribe, and really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.